You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's January 27th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Good morning, Rev Cindy. How you doing?
Good morning, Al. How are you? I'm doing well, thank you. By the way,
I'm doing okay. I'm doing better than I was last week at this time, and maybe because of the sunshine that is over my shoulders is part of the reason why.
nice. We have snow here today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, there was a little bit of sunshine when I looked out earlier, but then it's very cold with scattered sun and snow showers.
Yeah. Well, I think we probably had that stuff over the weekend. Yeah, and it's made its way to you. So, what can we do?
It is what it is.
All right, that's our weather report for today. Anything new before we get into the news?
I don't think so. Oh, I started doing my planning for coming up for Can Expo and some medicine in March, so that's kind of exciting.
Good. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
And we're actually starting to run promos too on the Can Expo. So, all righty, we'll get to our first news story of the day, and it comes to us from
Business of Cannabis. Canada's cannabis industry at a turning point after Trudeau's departure.
That's right. As Canada's cannabis industry stands at a pivotal crossroads, the impending departure of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau marks the end of an era that reshaped Canada's relationship with the plant. Trudeau's bold decision to legalize recreational cannabis in 2018 not only transformed the nation's social and economic landscape, but also established it as a global pioneer in cannabis reform. Canada remains the only G7 nation to have federally legalized the plant both for medical and adult use purposes.
Mm-hmm. The impact of cannabis legalization on Trudeau's legacy is undeniable. One of the only things he did that was amazing. Recent polls indicate that 62% of Canadians support cannabis legalization, a testament to the policy's enduring popularity and success.
In fact, when asked about Trudeau's top accomplishments, the largest proportion of Canadians point to the legalization of recreational cannabis, according to a survey at Ledger, a North American market research company based in Montreal. So,
which is what I just said too. It was the bestest thing he ever did, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's it like that first year alone, 60,000 people did not get arrested for simple cannabis possession. So that was just the first year. Never mind how many years since then.
Yeah, which is true, right? I mean, whether you like the guy or not, he helped the industry.
Yeah, I have a friend who's now 80 years of age, and I'm going to say within the last 10 years, he was busted twice for 2 or 3 joints, and he had to go to court. One of his sentences that came down was that he had to do 10 hours of community work. So he went to an old age home, and he played music because he loves playing guitar and singing. So he went there. Not only did he put in his time, but he put in more than twice the amount of time required because he was having such a good time doing it.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, that was probably very enjoyable to do and be part of. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. All righty. On to our next story.
Coming to us from Mugglehead Magazine, Canadian medical cannabis exports increased nearly twofold in H1 of 2024.
Numbers, bud. Canada shipped packages of medical grass to international customers at warp speed during the first half of last year, according to the latest data from Health Canada. A total of 67,475 kilograms of dried flower was exported during H1, marking a 91% year-over-year increase. Wow, 98% from the 6-month period in 2023. The immense rise can be linked to a rapid expansion of legal markets throughout Europe, demand for GMP-certified product in less developed markets, economic incentives for Canadian suppliers due to an oversupply at home, and other factors.
March set a new record for monthly reports at 14,015 kilograms of bud. May and June then managed to surpass that all-time high number with 14,364 and 14,671 kilograms, respectively. Medical cannabis accounts for about 12.5% of the country's industry. Domestic cannabis sales increased significantly during the first half of 2024 as well, particularly in Ontario. The nation's most populated province observed a 21% year-over-year spike in terms of volume sold, raking in over $1 billion.
Wow, jeez. I didn't know that.
Just Ontario.
Yeah, I know. That's just Ontario. And as far as all the big sales, like I know there's one country there that we've read in the news where they're taking Canada to task because they believe that it's been dumped. The cannabis is being dumped there on their places because of pricing. So near 7 years post legalization, the Canadian market is now approximately 70% controlled by licensed suppliers, and an assortment of illicit cannabis distributing still runs the remainder of the market share. And it says, despite the majority of the domestic market now being controlled by regulated sources, cannabis busts are a regular occurrence in the country.
Earlier this week, the Canada Border Service Agency, the CBSA, revealed that they had seized nearly $13 million worth of contraband cannabis, and that they discovered in shipping containers at the Port of Montreal. It was concealed in 3,113 sealed packages and placed in 59 large sports bags, the law enforcement agency said, and the product was destined for Nigeria.
In Ontario, a province of nearly 16 million people, the government invested $31 million into the Provincial Joint Forces Cannabis Enforcement Team last year to help crack down on illegal distribution shops and websites. And citizens looking for a more potent brownie or gummy may favor illicit sources due to the 10 milligram THC limit on edibles in Canada. Hear, hear. This is considered by many to be one of the nation's industry's foremost problems and a catalyst for illegal sales.
So Ontario spent, if you break it down, almost $2 million per person on the Provincial Joint Forces Cannabis Enforcement Team last year. 16 million in the province.
Yeah.
31 million. That's almost
right.
$2 million per person.
Basically, it is because it's only $1 million short, and Toronto is screaming because they don't have the resources, because they don't have the money for the bylaw officers to go into the stores. And
so what are they doing with this $2 million per person?
Yeah, that's I had heard about the 31 million, but I hadn't put that to the number of the people. And I can see. That's
my accountant's brain has to.
Yeah, I don't. It's like each person spending $2 million to help enforce the illicit trade here.
Well, that's what it really comes down to, because it's taxes that's paying for it. So on average, each person is footing in $2 million.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. All righty. Here we go. On to the next story.
Coming to us from City News Everywhere. New psychedelic assisted therapy clinic is open in Edmonton.
All right. Psychedelic therapy is being called a frontier field of medicine, and now Edmonton has a psychedelic-assisted mental health treatment clinic. But psychiatrists warn there are still unanswered questions about their use.
Yeah. Psychologists, my screen was jumping. I hate it when they do that, right?
Yeah.
But psychologists say this frontier field of mental health treatment is already showing promising results. In order to get a dose of psilocybin, ketamine, or MDMA, patients at Reunion Psychedelic Therapy downtown must get a referral by a clinical professional and meet eligibility requirements after consulting with psychologists.
While on a psychedelic dose, patients in this room are guided by medical professionals meant to treat issues like treatment-resistant depression, anxiety, PTSD, and even end-of-life anxiety.
Mm-hmm. To go inward and encounter different types of experiences, memories, emotions, and thoughts that perhaps they've been really struggling with. And this is said by Dr. Kevin St. Anard, who's a psychologist at Reunion. Different types of traumatic experiences perhaps start to come to the surface.
Dr. St. Arnaud says the research on psychedelic-assisted therapy dates back to the 1950s, and its use recorded in human history thousands of years before. But despite that, it's still an emerging field of clinical treatment. Alberta is the first province to regulate the practice in 2022.
Under what we've put together here, this is protecting individuals from unregulated individuals providing non-evidence-based therapy. And this is said by Dr. Robert Tanguay, who is the Alberta Health Services. Researchers at the University of Alberta told City News while promising clinical results around psychedelics started showing up a decade ago, there are still questions around their use. And they're still really hard to get. I think you can get ketamine therapy with a prescription, but for MDMA or psilocybin, you also have to get your SAP.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Peter Silverstone, he's a professor of the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Alberta. He says that they seem to create a new nerve pathway and help nerve growth in ways that other drugs don't. And that makes them very exciting. There's a huge question about whether you need to have the psychedelic effect to have the therapeutic effect. Now, Dr. Silverstone adds, after a few more years of research into their clinical use, psychedelic substances could be a more common treatment for severe PTSD and depression.
Silverstone goes on, so I think it's very exciting, huge potential, but is it ready for prime time? He doesn't think so. He says, not yet, we're getting there. However, at Reunion, they stress that they will always follow a psychedelic session with therapy.
And if Dr. Arnold finishes off by saying, so it's not just all about having these amazing, fantastical experiences. It's about going to work and making them into something useful therapeutically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Integration afterwards is where it's at. The psychedelic process and taking the medicine is one thing, but integrating it into your life and using the therapy afterwards to do that is what's really, truly important. And that's where you're going to make all of your real changes happen. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. All righty. On to our next story. And it's our last one before break. Boy, we're just flying through these this morning.
Ooh, we're doing good so far.
I know why. I know why.
We didn't pick any stories from a certain place. That's why.
Exactly. I noticed that just as we were going live. Hey.
It's like, yay.
All right.
Okay.
On to that story. Here we go.
Coming to us from Cannabis Law Report, Fiji police concerned about the increasing number of cannabis plants uprooted from maritime islands.
Concerns have been raised about the increasing number of cannabis plants being uprooted from the maritime islands, highlighting the prevalence of illegal cultivation in these areas. A total of 46,000 plants were uprooted in Vanuatu, while 146 plants were discovered and destroyed in Vanabalava and Gau Island earlier this month.
Wow. Assistant Commissioner of Police Operations Live Drew told Fijiville News pardon me, that the war against drugs requires a holistic approach involving not only enforcement, but also education and rehabilitation to address the root causes of drug cultivation and use. He says this demonstrates the strong partnership between communities and the police.
Drew stresses the importance of community cooperation, combating drug-related activities, praising the ongoing efforts of residents to report suspicious activities. He adds that police will continue to work closely with maritime communities to create a safer and drug-free environment.
So is it the police that have uprooted these plants and taken them?
Yes, that's what I would say.
Yeah, is that what I'm reading? They're reporting that, yay, we had a big bust?
Well, no, they're just saying how they're just disturbed by how many plants that they've pulled out of these different off these different islands that are within their territory.
46,146 to be exact.
Yeah. Well, it's just like they used to say something similar here at one time, right? And they still do. Talk about all the large grows, and now we're seeing about these large busts. We just reported on one, and a couple of weeks ago we had a whole list of them.
Yeah,
of all these people.
We had
the one that was down in Halifax.
That was all border related.
Yeah.
Trying to take it out of the country.
Yeah, exactly. So, see what happens.
It says something for how much cannabis we have here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, commercial time. Time for us to hear from the sponsors who inform our viewers, or help us inform our viewers. You're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Educational News. We'll see you in about 3.5 minutes, maybe 4.
You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at PACERadio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace re-rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, we're back. We got 4 more stories to bring you, and where are we gonna go? We're gonna go to Spain. We're gonna go to New Zealand, and we got some studies. We got a study or two. So there we go. Next story's up.
Coming to us from Ceylon, what makes the psychedelic experience so healing? It could be awe.
Could be. Here we go. Every day before leaving for work, Danny Brown would set up a time lapse in front of his window to capture the day outside while he was in the office. When he got home, he could witness all that he missed while he was locked into the computer during the workday. He says, it was a grand shift in perspective that created a need to change my way of thinking. For me, that change was from a daily experience to this almost overview effect. Like nature kept going today while I was focused on the expense report, or this cold front moved in, I didn't even notice.
Eventually, Brown left his office job so he could return to school to study that feeling, where it came from, and whether it was the power to heal whether it has the power to heal the body and mind. I realized the feeling I was getting from the time lapse and what I was tapping into was awe, Brown said.
The feeling of awe can wash over you when watching the sunset or standing next to a gigantic redwood tree. It can arise when watching your child take their first steps or even when holding a loved one's hand as they pass. Defined as a feeling of reverential respect mixed with fear or wonder. Awe is not inherently positive or negative, but a complex emotion associated with meaningful experiences by everyone at some point in their lives.
Awe occurs when we experience vastness, which could be triggered by something perceptual like walking through the Grand Canyon, or something conceptual like understanding a big idea with widespread implications, said Dr. David Yadden, who's a Johns Hopkins Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, who studies altered states of consciousness. Experiencing that vastness is ultimately about recognition, recognizing, our own smallness to the world around us, or perhaps recognizing ourselves in another.
There's a need to understand or accommodate that experience into your existing psychological schema, Yarden told Salon in a phone interview. Basically, you have to attend to the experience. It has to matter to you in some way. Experiencing awe has been shown to have an impact neurologically. In one 2019 study, experiencing awe was associated with reductions in activity in the brain's default mode network, which is associated with self-reflective thought and also helps you identify where your body's boundaries are relative to the external world.
There are often feelings of connectedness related to awe. And this is a bit of a speculation, but you can imagine that these, alterations in your bodily boundaries may lend themselves to feelings of enhanced connectedness, Yadden said. This also might be why awe could be a useful tool in promoting mental wellness. Self-focus and remuneration are the root of many mental health conditions like anxiety and depression, and experiencing awe in a way free the mind from some of those invasive thoughts This is said by Dr. Datcher Keltner, who is the faculty director at the Greater Good Science Center and psychology professor at UC Berkeley. And he's written a book about awe.
Awe could also reduce feelings of isolation or loneliness by promoting a sense of inner correctiveness, says Dr. Alice Chirico. She's the director of Experience Lab at the Catholic University of Milan, who studies awe. Awe helps us experience the so-called sense of small self, where individuals feel part of something greater, which naturally reduces self-referential thinking and rumination, key drivers of depression, they told Salon in an email. I'm going to go deal with the dog, okay?
Okay.
You keep going.
This self-transcendence is also at the heart of psychedelic research. A large portion of people who undergo psychedelic therapy report experiencing mystical experiences, which often include feelings of awe. Although mystical experiences may bring to mind religious or spiritual connotations that inherently conflict with the scientific, paradigm, these experiences, whether reached through psychedelics or something like meditation, have been objectively tested and shown to have lasting impacts on psychological functioning. Nevertheless, some psychedelic researchers have suggested that the therapeutic effects of psychedelics could still take place without the trip or experience part of the psychedelic experience. But this idea is debated within the field, with others saying this self-transcendent experience is central to the benefits that psychedelics provide, and that they are likely far more effective in the experience element, if the experience element is integrated in addition to the medicine.
And Yadin says that I think the awe effect is necessary for the full and enduring therapeutic effects. I think to lock in long, lasting, persisting changes, you need shifts in your emotions, attitudes, and beliefs about yourself and the world. In other studies, experiencing awe has been shown to reduce stress, soften feelings of grief after a loss, and reduce feelings of hopelessness. Experiencing awe also activates the vagus nerve, which can reduce the body's inflammation, and releases oxytocin, which is typically associated with connection and building relationships. Kettler says.
Awe helps you think creatively. It helps you be rigorous in your thought. It calms your body and makes it receptive to the world. And Keltner told Salon this in a phone interview. Awe reduces stress. It makes you feel connected, and it helps to reduce loneliness. Millions of U.S. adults suffer from depression, anxiety, and loneliness with long-term physical health effects. However, fewer than half of people experiencing these mental health problems receive the care they need. And as a result, it is particularly critical to continue studying something like awe, which anyone can access, Keltner said.
He goes on to say it helps you understand the meaning of your life, and this is what it's all about. We are in a lot of crises right now, and we need reorientation. Brown intends to study whether the feeling of awe can invoke some of the mental health effects that psychedelics do, given its similarities. The idea is to explore whether any of the same neurological biomarkers are identified when people experience awe as when they use psychedelics.
A huge piece of the psychedelic experience is the oneness with the universe. Oh, yes. This ability to connect with other people, Brown said. I just see that as so important to the human condition. And given how many people have depression and anxiety, there is a public health case for this research for sure. I agree.
There you go.
Very interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've always looked at awe as, normally as something really, things that would be exciting and good. But yeah, it can be negative for sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. See if that we ever hear about any more of that down the road.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah,
all right. It would be awesome if we did. All righty, here we go. Next story is up.
Coming to us from International Cannabis Business Conference, Spain is expected to approve a medical cannabis measure soon.
All right, another country jumping on board. Lawmakers in Spain are reportedly on track to approve a medical cannabis industry regulation measure before this summer. Spain has long been home to a thriving medical cannabis community and market. However, regulations for the nation's domestic medical cannabis industry have proved to be exclusive for years. The effect to bring Spain's medical cannabis policies into the modern age passed a major milestone back in October when the nation's Minister of Health published a draft royal decree focused on medical cannabis. This draft royal decree appears to be moving further along in the process.
After years of waiting, Spain seems to be finally on its way to regulating medical cannabis. If all goes according to plan, the royal decree regulating the use of cannabis for medical purposes could be approved before the summer of 2025. And this was stated by Inspangi in its reporting. The Spanish Minister of Health has sent a draft of the royal decree to the European Commission as required by European regulations. Brussels has 3 months to respond to the proposal. Once a positive response is received, the Council of State will give its opinion and the government can approve the decree. In total, this process could take up to 5 months.
The draft establishes broad restrictions on the medical use of cannabis and specifies very specifically the pathologies for which it can be used: multiple sclerosis, severe forms of refractory epilepsy, nausea and vomiting caused by chemotherapy, and refractory chronic pain. In all these cases, experts believe that there is scientific evidence of the benefit of medical cannabis.
The ministry addresses the regulation based on the conclusions of the Subcommittee of Congress of Deputies for the Analysis of Experiences with the Regulation of Cannabis for Medicinal Use, which called on the Spanish Agency for Medicines and Health Products to prepare a roadmap to approve the regulation. Spain's government stated in a press release about the measure. The proposed regulation guarantees the quality of the products and the safety of patients, enabling the legal avenues available to have therapeutic compounds based on standardized cannabis preparations that have shown evidence in relieving pain and the suffering of patients, considering the oral administration of these compounds as it is the most appropriate in terms of therapeutic effectiveness and safety for patients.
Something tells me they're not going to allow smoking of cannabis. It's just something. It's just a feeling I got. That's all. Spain's government also stated that this regulation is designed to evolve dramatically, allowing new elements to be incorporated as more information and experience of the therapeutic cannabis program becomes available. In addition, it will contribute to generating more and better evidence on the use of cannabinoids for therapeutic purposes. Despite the lack of proper regulations in Spain, the nation's cannabis industry is thriving, albeit not without a regulated system. Suffering patients deserve to have access to safe medical cannabis therapies, and entrepreneurs and investors deserve to operate a business environment that is built on a strong foundation of certainty. There you go.
Interesting.
Things are changing in Spain.
They are. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's always good when you can hear countries that are changing things for the better when it comes to cannabis, just as in our next story. That is
coming to us again from the International Cannabis Business Conference. 37% of medical cannabis patients in New Zealand have a prescription.
There you go. Modern medical cannabis was first legalized in New Zealand in 2018 with the medicinal cannabis scheme launching in 2020s. Since that time, a growing number of medical cannabis patients have received prescriptions to safely access medical cannabis products. In 2022-23, fewer than 10 medical cannabis users obtained a prescription for their cannabis. That had already climbed to 37% in 2024, according to the annual New Zealand Drug Trends surveys conducted by the Shore and Warranki Research Center at Massey University's College of Health.
Of the 1,742 respondents who claimed all or most of their cannabis use was for medical purposes, 60% they had said they had not approached a health professional, down from 85% in 22-23, and 93% in 2020. When the when the medicinal cannabis scheme launched in New Zealand. Initially, all legal medicinal cannabis products sold in New Zealand were imported. However, in September 2022, New Zealand's government granted permission for domestic medicinal cannabis cultivation. Woo!
Voters in New Zealand decided on a recreational cannabis legalization measure in 2020, with the measure being nearly defeated on Election Day. What? At the time, only 2 countries had adopted adult use legalization measures, Uruguay and Canada. Since the failed legalization vote in New Zealand, Malta, Luxembourg, Germany, and South Africa have approved national legalization measures. Additionally, nearly 6 countries have now adopted medical cannabis legalization measures. That's 60 countries already.
That's nice, yeah.
Yes.
A recent survey of more than 23,000 New Zealanders found that 60% of respondents reported that they consumed less alcohol after beginning cannabis. The survey also found that people who report using cannabis and other substances, 60% of the respondents reported consuming less synthetic cannabinoids. 44% reported using less morphine, and 40% reported using less methamphetamines.
There you go.
Awesome.
Awesome, exactly. As we've seen in lots of other reports, prescription medications go down when people start using cannabis.
Yep.
All right. Yep. So, all righty. Last story of the day, and here we go. It's a study.
Coming to us from Hemp Gazette: secondhand cannabis smoke, a potential threat to kids?
And they question the results. They say the results of a recent study indicates urinary cannabinoid biomarkers in children from homes where they are exposed to cannabis smoke. With cannabis legalization in many U.S. states for medical recreational use, there has been a rise in children ingesting cannabis products and then requiring hospitalization. But it's not just overexposure to cannabinoids that's on a rise. What's an issue?
Yeah, cannabis smoke contains many chemicals, some of which are recognized as toxic and carcinogenic. There are concerns children in homes where cannabis is smoked can be negatively impacted. Researchers from San Diego State University, the University of California, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention tested for the association of in-home cannabis smoking with urinary cannabinoids of children.
Yeah, they said the primary intoxicating cannabinoid in cannabis is THC. When consumed, it is metabolized to THC-11, which is OH-THC, they say, which is in turn metabolizes into 11-nor-9, which is COO-THC. These can all be measured in urine and therefore make effective biomarkers for cannabis exposure. Mm-hmm.
A total of 275 children were included in this analysis, which found that 75 children at 27.3% had detectable urinary cannabinoids. The odds of detectable THC equivalents in children's urine were 5 times higher in households with reported in-home cannabis smoking compared to those without. Among other conclusions, the researchers stated investigation into the impact of in-home smoking patterns and potential increased child secondhand cannabis smoke exposure is essential, and more information is needed on the long-term health risks.
Now, the researchers also acknowledged several limitations to their study. Among them, only 29 households reported in-home cannabis smoking in the past 7 days, which is far less than the occurrence detected. But while the study is new, the data on which it is based on is quite old. New medical or non-medical cannabis was illegal in California when data was collected in 2012 to 2016, which may have played a role in responses due to social desire or bias. Smoking indoors may have been more prominent in 2016, given the legal status back then, and may have declined since due to more liberal current regulations.
Absolutely. Also, the data was in connection to survey associated with Project Fresh Air, a randomized clinical trial to reduce fine particle matter level that focused on tobacco. That survey predominantly recruited participants from lower socioeconomic backgrounds and Hispanic ethnicity. Population representative prevalence estimates of cannabis exposure would more authoritatively inform public health officials and researchers on the issue, state the researchers.
There you go. Well, you got to think, if the kids are in the big fog, you're hotboxing your house and the kids walk into that, they're going to inhale it. So it's going to end up in their urine. That's for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I know, I have had, rented the UFC fights here by times, friends come over and I have a smoking room, specifically set up for cannabis smoking. And, my dad will come in here who doesn't use cannabis at all, bring a chair in and watch the UFC fights with us. And we hotbox this room with the door closed and, et cetera. And my father gets high.
Oh, yeah.
It's a smaller room. So when we're hotboxing this smaller room and we've got the fan turned off, my dad gets high.
Yeah, well, you're sitting in there inhaling it, right?
Yeah.
And, it's not just secondhand smoke. If you're burning a joint, that's all smoke.
It comes off the end.
It comes off the end, right? And it fills the air, right? So.
Now, do I agree with all the, it's toxic? I mean, I'm not sure, but I know my dad gets high. And he laughs. He can't stand smoking a joint, but he loves this. I shouldn't say he loves. He gets a kick out of the second hand, like when he's in it.
Gets the buzz. Yeah. No, it's I've mentioned here quite often. I don't smoke. I vaporize.
Yep.
I got my vaporizer stuff all right here because I don't smoke in the house.
Yeah, you don't combust at all.
No.
And the vapor is a whole lot different.
Yeah. I don't know if it. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen any secondhand vapor studies. Don't see much of them, so it'd be interesting to.
Come on, Ivy League universities, get on it.
All right. Anything else offhand?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess one other thing offhand is I had a link sent to me over the weekend. That showed that
or wait for Wednesday. So
yeah, it was for the top 25 podcasts to watch or listen to in 2025, and the P.A.C.E radio show came in 8th place. So I was wow.
That's really exciting. I'm so excited for you and Tamara. I was so pleased to see that P.A.C.E Radio got that and that the two of you got recognized. That's so beautiful. Congratulations.
Yeah. Those are the, maybe those awe factors that we talked about earlier on. Cause like, holy smokes, and it's, we don't know how it was, done. Well, there was some information how it was all, how the things were all calculated and all that. But you don't know when it was going on. It was all based on data that they had, and I believe there is some voting involved in it. But it's good to see. So
absolutely, very exciting.
Yeah. All right. Other than that, anything else?
I don't think so.
Thanks for watching. That's right. From the Legacy.com News Desk, that's it for today. We hope you found it educational and informative. Thanks to Legacy420.com, Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, At-Eze.ca, and Limestone City Hydroponics.ca. And to you, catch our next broadcast on Thursday. And we will see you all then. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at PACEradio.net.